Hi guys, it's Michelle, and today's video is going to be all about the dark side of Hollywood. I love deep diving into the dark side of Hollywood. I honestly think there's always so much dark shit going on that we probably have only ever scraped the surface of. And obviously with P. Diddy, there's kind of just a lot of stuff going on right now. And a lot of theories, a lot of conspiracy, and honestly, low-key, a lot of facts. So without further ado, let's get into the dark side of Hollywood. So obviously, Hollywood is portrayed as the land of dreams. It is seen as super glamorous, luxurious, and just an ideal life of fame and fortune. But it's not that simple. We have learned over the years that there has been quite a lot of dark narratives surrounding people in Hollywood that we are used to seeing every single day. And honestly, it is pretty scary, but it dates back way before a lot of us were born. And I think that a person who really represents the very tragic and dark side of Hollywood perfectly is Judy Garland. So Judy Garland's rise to fame was brought with a lot of challenges that a lot of people don't know about. Judy Garland was just a child when she filmed The Wizard of Oz. She was only 16 years old, and MGM really enforced a very grueling scheduling in regards to her filming on The Wizard of Oz. Judy Garland's time on The Wizard of Oz was obviously before a lot of these laws were enacted to protect child actors from being overworked. So she was working throughout the entire night, most nights, and she was given caffeine pills to stay awake. And then when she was done shooting, she would be given sleeping pills to fall asleep. And that's just insane. Like I said, she was a child. So Judy Garland at 16 years old developed early substance abuse issues where the studio was providing her, like I said, amphetamines to keep her energized and ready to go throughout the day and whenever she needed to shoot in the middle of the night sometimes. All those drugs were keeping her very hype and alert, and then she was given barbiturates to go to sleep when the filming day was over, and that obviously created a very deep-rooted codependency on these drugs. Hollywood has always been pretty exploitative of their actors, especially children. I think we've seen it from Judy Garland to Shirley Temple to Drew Barrymore. There have been so many young child actors who have been exposed to some really fucking dark shit at such a young age that it most likely led to a lot of trauma and sometimes death. Judy Garland was also forced into a strict diet of bone broth and cigarettes on her time of shooting The Wizard of Oz because the head of MGM basically just called her a fat pig, which is actually absurd. So she was forced to smoke cigarettes to curb her appetite. And like I said, she became dependent on several different drugs. And this is all happening at the hands of the studio at such a young age. And this was just perceived as normal at the time. From a young age, she became reliant on drugs, alcohol. All of these substance abuses exacerbated her mental health issues. Her mental health was completely deteriorating by the time of her death. She was only 47 years old in 1969 when she died of an overdose. And many people contribute Judy Garland's death to the dark side of Hollywood, and that it was something that could have easily been avoided, but she was thrown into at such a young age and just exploited as a child so that the companies and MGM could make money. And ultimately, it cost her her life. And that is really, really sad and scary. And we've seen this time and time again with several different Hollywood stars. The next person I want to talk about in regards to this exploitative behavior that Hollywood has is Drew Barrymore. So Drew Barrymore was actually born into a legendary Hollywood family. Her grandparents and her parents were actors, and in 1982 she made her film debut in, of course, E.T. Drew Barrymore was only 5 years old at the time of E.T., and she quickly became a household name and quickly got involved with a lot of dark shit going on in Hollywood. And I think Drew Barrymore's story speaks so many volumes as to what the fuck is going on, especially now with all the P. Diddy shit. We're gonna like get into that later. But essentially, Drew Barrymore has spoken out about how she was given drugs and alcohol at the age of 10, 11, 12 years old. And this was by obviously other adults were giving her these substances, which is insane. And the scary thing about this is that you really watch all of this shit unfold. Like on November 20th, the little girl lost. Her mother, Jade Barrymore, was the one who actually escorted her to several Hollywood parties and nightclubs all over Los Angeles and New York City. Drew began smoking and drinking alcohol at the age of 9 years old, smoking pot by the time that she was 10, and doing cocaine by 12 years old. Like, it's just completely fucking unheard of. And she claims that the adults around her really perpetuated that this idea of her doing drugs and drinking alcohol was normal. And obviously, she's a freaking child, so she doesn't know better. I'm insane. And I just think it shows a lot about the comparison. Because I think that I first heard about P. Diddy's scandals, I absolutely thought it was insane, as it is. Obviously, you guys probably know by now, Sean Combs has been accused of having basically sex trafficking parties with a bunch of children, other celebrities, just some weird shit going on. A lot of accusations, including children that are as young as 9 years old. Just horrible, horrible shit. In what we know now as Diddy's freak-offs. The fact of the matter is, I think a lot of people find it hard to believe that so many adults would be willing to turn a blind eye on the abuse of these children. But unfortunately, that is the way that it is in Hollywood. And I just want to understand why that is. And I think the why is what scares me a lot, because clearly this has been going on for years. Obviously, we saw it happen with Judy Garland. That's kind of a completely different time. The 1930s, 1940s, obviously things were way different then. But Drew Barrymore is obviously not that old. So her as a child being exposed to this behavior, being given drugs, like literally given cocaine at 12 years old is actually insane. And the fact that no adults around her did anything about it just shows what the people in Hollywood are willing to turn a blind eye to. And I, for one, want to know why the hell that is. Because theoretically, if there are these people, like Sean Diddy Combs is not having these freak-offs alone. That's a fact. There are people who are involved with this, whether they are actually involved, which makes sense as to why they're not talking, or if they just see it and know that it's happening and never say a thing about it. And those are the people that fucking scare the shit out of me, because why are you hiding that? And it goes really deep, honestly, with Jeffrey Epstein and everything in regards to him and what happened on his island. I think there were so many more people that knew about it and know what's going on and just turned a blind eye, which makes you wonder, what the fuck are these people afraid of? And I truly, truly think that that is where you get a deeper rooted layer of potentially Illuminati zone. Like, do I think that there are people who are aware of what's going on in Hollywood and were aware of what was going on with Diddy and Drew Barrymore and Jeffrey Epstein? All of these people, there are people who were aware of that. Do I think all of them are quiet about it just because they're shitty people? Maybe, but I think it's more likely that they are afraid and scared to speak out against what's happening. And I think that that makes a lot more sense than all of the people of Hollywood just being these terrible human beings who are willing to like participate in this kind of shit. I think a lot of people are just willing to turn a blind eye because they are scared for their own lives. And it's selfish and unfortunate, obviously. But we've seen the biggest celebrities be getting away with this shit for years. And so it's hard to come to terms with the idea that these people are turning a blind eye because they're scared, because obviously they should be protecting the children, protecting other people that are, you know, facing these abuse and terrible things happening to them. But it really does make you wonder and scares you how much power that these people hold in Hollywood and how much they maybe hold in the government. I truly think that they are more than capable of covering up death. I think they've done it before. I think P. Diddy did it with Kim Porter. I think P. Diddy did it with Tupac and probably with Biggie as well. And I just think that's the reason all this stuff gets swept under the rug. And ignored is because there is something darker and more of a close-knit group of powerful people who are probably puppeteers to people like P. Diddy and are participating and orchestrating these trafficking events and terrible things that are happening to not only children but just innocent people in Hollywood. And I just think there's something that a lot of people are afraid of, and I don't know if I would say that's like technically the Illuminati, but at least that's how I kind of see it, is that I think that there's a lot of dark shit happening. A lot of people know that it's happening, but there's no Illuminati. Like, there's no specific group of people that's necessarily controlling everything. But I do think there are a lot of celebrities who see shit and probably have known about shit that was going on with Diddy and the Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, so many other people that are just turned a blind eye to it because they're scared of their own lives. I don't know. I will say you see a lot of people in Hollywood who try to speak out against Hollywood as a whole die. And that's kind of scary. And one person is Corey frickin' Feldman. Corey Feldman has been trying to speak out against Hollywood for decades, and he just gets honestly swept under the rug and ignored. Corey Feldman has been speaking out about being abused for a very long time, and he claims that his friend Corey Haim was also abused by the same person. Corey Feldman has a very similar childhood to Drew Barrymore. He was a child star, and the first time he ever did coke was when he was 14 years old on the set of The Lost Boys. He made a documentary in 2020 called My Truth, the R Word of the Two Coreys, where he talks about how him and Corey Haim were both abused as children in Hollywood by several different men. And Corey Feldman claims that in 1993, the Santa Barbara police brought him in to try to get him to say that Michael Jackson abused him, which we've just talked about how Aaron Carter claims the same thing happened to him. And I will say, Michael Jackson has always been somebody who has spoken out against the Illuminati, the music industry, whatever you want to call it, and he's dead. And before he died, his career was ruined by allegations that may or may not be true, but essentially there are a lot of people coming forward who claim the police wanted them to lie on Michael Jackson's name, which is obviously suspicious. Corey Feldman claims that he gave the police the name of the man who abused him, and they never did anything with it because all they wanted to do was get Michael Jackson behind bars. Corey Feldman also claims that Corey Haim told him prior to his death that Charlie Sheen was somebody who abused him, and I'll say Charlie Sheen has denied this claim, but honestly, I don't feel like I really believe him, especially with all of the shit that Charlie Sheen has been involved with over the past decade, really. I just think that there is definitely something really, really, really dark going on in Hollywood, and that's kind of an understatement. I just think the exploitation of child actors is such a problematic topic that people really don't like to talk about. And I don't know why, because I think that there is some dark shit going on. Obviously, I think it's maybe slightly better now than it used to be, but I still don't even think it's anywhere near safe enough for children to be working in these environments, because we've seen all of the shit with Dan Schneider and Quiet on Set come out about how Nickelodeon, which is a children's network, wasn't even a safe place for children to work on TV. That's a fucking problem. That is a problem. Understatement of the year. But the fact that these children are being exposed and exploited to abuse and drugs and so many other dark things is really genuinely concerning, because there is such an impact on the mental health of these children that's why you see, a childhood star crash and burns. Like, that's such a common occurrence, but it's because of what the hell these kids are going through at such a young age. They are being taken advantage of and exploited, usually by their parents, which is fucking absurd and terrifying, because their parents usually subject them to this type of abuse and exploitation without even batting an eye or being concerned as to what's happening with their child behind closed doors or when they're on set and whatever. It's disturbing. It really is. I think that they're, don't know how the workaround of this would be, because obviously there are children needed in TV shows and movies, but I just feel like there should be way, way, way more laws and rules about children working in Hollywood, because clearly this is a problem. And I think everything that we see going on with Diddy and everything that we've seen going on at Nickelodeon and Disney, there is something much darker that so many people are obviously willing to turn a blind eye to, that somebody's got to get in there and fix things, because clearly something's wrong. And truthfully, what I think it is people who are not watching their kids closely enough and just exploiting their children to pay their own bills. I see this happen time and time again. I feel like this was totally relevant in the case of Drew Barrymore. Like, the fact that her mother was bringing her to these Hollywood parties and letting her child do drugs and drink alcohol at 10 years old is clinically insane. Like, that's actually fucking nuts. And what else other than to exploit them? Amanda Bynes, same thing. I truly believe her parents did not give a fucking shit about her, and that is why she's in the position that she's in today. Britney Spears, another situation of where I don't think the parents really cared. And that was why Britney was forced into a conservatorship where her father owned all of her money, because that was the only thing that man ever cared about. Did not care about the trauma, the abuse, and the fucking exploitation and substance abuse that their children face. They only care about a paycheck, and that is such a sad environment to grow up in. I cannot believe how badly I wanted to be in Hollywood and wanted to be an actor as a kid. That would have never fucking worked, because my parents would have annoyed the shit out of any producer because they are helicopter parents. But at that rate, I think they should be. I literally think that that's what you have to do if you're going to let your child become an actor or pop star at such a young age. They need to have that helicopter parent protection. But unfortunately, a lot of these kids' parents don't give a shit about their kids' dreams. They just want money. And that is really fucking sad. I also think this becomes an issue for not only children in the media, but people in general that just couldn't handle the way that the media was attacking them, rightfully so, because it's not a fucking normal thing to experience. Amy Winehouse is one of the people who I think her death was heavily influenced by her fame. Anytime that she would relapse or go into rehab or overdose, whatever it was, she was getting hounded by the media and just absolutely ripped apart by paparazzi, by the tabloids. And honestly, it was just such a toxic environment that the constant public scrutiny obviously had an impact on her mental health, which also obviously contributed to her to seek outside coping mechanisms like substance abuse, which is ultimately what killed Amy Winehouse. She died from alcohol poisoning. And I truly think had she not been famous, she would not have gotten involved with drugs in the way that she did. Instead of the tabloids feeling bad for her or recognizing and having compassion for the fact that she was struggling, they exploited her. And that is fucking sick. I truly think that people like Princess Di and Amy Winehouse and Elvis Presley were killed by the media, and their lives were made hell because of it. And there are still people to this day, like Britney Spears, Amanda Bynes, their lives are continuously made hell by the media. And people just kind of make fun of them and make light of them, and it sucks. But that is the way that the media works, unfortunately. And I just think it adds an extra layer to a dark side of Hollywood. It's because we're consumers contributing to this dark narrative and buying these tabloids, supporting the exploitation of these people. At the end of the day, I know it's really easy to kind of separate yourself from famous people because they're rich, they're famous, they can have anything that they want. But it's at the end of the day, they are just humans, and we should have empathy for everyone. Honestly, they're just regular people, and they are constantly exploited. I understand that a lot of them choose this life. A lot of them chose to be famous, and I get it. But it still doesn't mean that it's a normal thing to deal with. And I think that is a very important thing when talking about the dark side of Hollywood. Honestly, I feel like we just scratched the surface today, but this video is already long enough. But either way, that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below if there's any other parts of the dark side of Hollywood that you want me to touch on. Let me know. But that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and subscribe for new videos every week. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.